Hello, and welcome to Business Ethics. I'm your Professor John Harvey, and here we are in week 1. So the first part is talking about ethics. So this course, we're going to cover 2 areas of ethics. We're going to talk about personal ethics, and we're going to talk about business ethics. So for starters, ethics, the way I will define it for you, the textbook has a very clear definition and does a great job of kind of laying this stuff out. But what I'd say is where you have, obligations, maybe you have legal requirements, ethics is a step above all of that. So it may not be legal or it may not be illegal, but it's the right thing to do. So it's a step above that. So when you could do something legally, ethically, maybe you shouldn't do it. And so you won't do it because it violates your ethics. So ethics takes you beyond the law and beyond other requirements to kind of a higher level of behavior, if you will. So we're going to talk about it in a personal way, so how you personally handle ethics when you deal with situations that there isn't a legal answer, or maybe maybe not even legal, but maybe there's not some required standard action, but it has to do with something that you have to choose. So that would be personal ethics. And then corporate ethics, so how a corporation may behave. So there are things that a corporation can do legally that they may choose not to do because it violates their ethics. So this course talks about it from a personal perspective, as well as introducing this idea that the corporations should have an ethical standard as well that they hold to. So to give you an overview of the course, so the modules are open every week. So they open up on Sunday at like midnight or 11 o'clock or something like that. And they'll close again on Sunday night the following week. Each module is pretty much a week. So when you see module 1, that's week 1, and so on and so forth. Now within those modules, I have certain deadlines. So if you look through there, they'll say things that are due on, before Tuesday, or maybe before Thursday, or something like that. So part of this is how to stage or set up the information for you to make decisions. So each chapter or each module, we're going to have probably a chapter in the book. There'll be some discussion board about it. There'll be an ethical issue that you guys need to discuss in a group. All of that requires that you not wait to the last minute. So that's why we have a Tuesday deadline. I need you to get your stuff read so that you can respond on the discussion boards. Then you have a chance to respond to other people in those discussion boards. So some of you have gotten kind of hung up on this and gone, wait, what's due and how come I don't see it and all that kind of stuff. Understand the concept here. I need you to have your first responses in early enough to let other people have responses so that we're not all super busy on Sunday night trying to cram everything in. So that's why there's a Tuesday deadline, there's a Thursday deadline, and it kind of works that way. Now there's also a self-assessment quiz where you kind of need to look at things and assess where you're at with the course. And then there's a bunch of projects. So we have things like a corporation video that talks about how, at least this one is very biased. It talks about how evil the corporation is. I'm looking for one that'll kind of have the counterbalance to that. But the idea of you listen to this video, you watch it, and then you need to respond to it. There's a group presentation. There's this ethics project that you guys have to do. So there's all these little kind of projects as well. But kind of the run rate, or what you're going to be doing every week, is reading through the textbook, taking a quiz on that, and doing a bunch of discussion boards where you're talking about the text as well as some sort of ethical decision. Now, let me get the textbook for you. This is what the textbook looks like. Strategic Corporate Social Responsibility. It's about that thin. You get the idea. This is the 4th edition. I think there's a newer edition, so you can see it says 4 down here. This is what it looks like. So The 5th edition, I think, is out, and we're not using that one. We're using the 4th edition, so I think there's some big changes in that. So make sure and look for that book. I think the author's Chandler. The author's Chandler. So make sure and get the right textbook and get started, because that is next week. You will be looking at chapter 1 in that book. So the schedule this week is fairly light. I have one quiz on the syllabus, so make sure and look that over and respond to that. There's a couple of group chats where you introduce yourself, kind of look at things that way, and I think a self-assessment. So it's fairly light this week because as usual, people are still coming into class and figuring out. Maybe you ordered a used textbook and it's not here, and so there's all that kind of stuff. Next week, we start kind of hitting the ground running and moving through the material. What I would tell you is that some of these projects are pretty big, pretty complex, and require a lot of stuff, especially this group presentation. That's going to be huge. It just takes a lot of effort on your part to get this thing done and done right. So don't be that person that waits till the last minute. In the syllabus, I've got a schedule. Take a look at what you're supposed to do for week 1 and use that as your guide in terms of what needs to be done. Now, in terms of what I put into Blackboard, I put everything is due on Sunday at midnight, because the reality is, maybe you missed Tuesday, but you got it done Wednesday morning. I'm not going to penalize you for that stuff. It's not a big deal. What is a big deal is if you let your team down because you don't respond and you don't put stuff in and they have nothing to reply to. That makes you look bad, it makes them look bad, and y'all lose points that way. So adhere to the deadlines as much as possible, but know that the material is open and available, and it's there for the week. So hopefully that helps you with that. So this week, there was a post in there. I think it's the welcome post that's in there, as well as a response to a video. So you get to watch the end of education. That end of education has points assigned to it, and the post or the discussion board that's welcome to the class, I didn't put any points to that. Now I hope you don't feel like cheated out of that. So I put zeros in there so that I could mark and read and make sure that I've marked every one of your posts, and I've seen them and looked at them. There's not that many of these kind of things. I have a little bit of that at the group presentation towards the end, where there's an assignment in there. It has a due date, but the points in it are 0. It's still very relevant. Still, you need to do it. But I wrap those points into another part of that thing. So hopefully you don't feel cheated, or don't panic if you see that, I got a 0 on this assignment. Well, the welcome one was 0 points. I didn't put anything on that one. All right, guys. Next week, like I said, you're moving on to chapter 1. So with that, have a great week. Welcome to class, and I look forward to talking to you soon. All right.